Hey, hello everybody! Welcome back to the RationalInvestor.co's. This is our broiler chicken show. Kind of a fun name. And we have one site member, Shane, who got me to do that. I thought that was hilarious, the broiler chicken show. So I'm going to load the page, so it's probably loading now. Yeah, there it is. So it looks like it's running. So there we go. I'm not going to, I put this out on YouTube and Twitter and all that, so we may see people pop in. I'm not going to really pay attention to the YouTube chat, but I see James is here. If you could maybe just keep an eye on that for me, I'd appreciate it. I'll throw that link in the lounge. So there it is, if anybody wants to watch it off of the YouTube page. The Broiler Chicken Show. So this is sort of our weekend edition of our fun and games that we like to have on the TRI site. And, you know, there's so much going on in crypto right now. I did notice that quite a few new site members were like, hey, well, you know, is there any chance Brian's going to do a daily brief on the weekends? Usually I don't. You know, usually just a heads up, I like to do Monday to Friday. We had a team meeting this morning, and I was sitting here looking at charts, and we got quite a few trades on the go. I was like, what the hell, why not? So always a good idea just to check in with the big boy and sort of get a, and I used to do these weekly Bitcoin summaries for a website, one of these crypto places, and then we did them for the site for a while, and then I got so busy with the new term, but here we are, got a bit of time on our hands, so let's have some fun. So I always think it's a good idea, if you're ever thinking about investing something, to try and start at the highest time frames. It's just generally a good idea. In fact, here, I'll move the microphone a little closer. Is that any better? I don't know. Anyway, hopefully it is. And so if you're ever going to think about investing your hard-earned money, you know, always start off always a good idea to start off at the higher time frames. And even as you're sort of going along your sort of investing journey, always a good idea just to refer back to the highest time frame possible, just to see if there are any structural signals, if you can sort of put current price into context. One guy actually I used to work with, Kenny Roberts, years and years ago. I think he's still out of Ojai. No, I think he's in Grants Pass, Oregon. He used to take a price chart like this and break it into quadrants. And I suppose, you know, even through this correction here, if we took this chart, you can sort of see how it's sort of trading in ranges, right? Where I can just see right off the bat, right through there, right, which almost looks to be almost about 50% of that range. Clearly, that was an important level. Market trading below that range, market trading above that range. And of course, you know, just at present, it's really important for us to put price into context here. And for heaven's sakes, you know, just be darn careful. I noticed, you know, in weeks gone past, we have just these absolutely insane wicks here, right? Keep in mind, this is a weekly price chart. And, you know, if you see a candle, and that's basically what we're doing right now, but if you see a candle just ripping way up here, for God's sakes, just cool your jets, right? Because this kind of shit can happen, and you can get bitch slapped in this space really, really quickly. If anything, one of the main reasons why I wanted to do a video here was because we're at new highs, guys. I mean, gee whiz, what a bull. I was getting worried here off of the lower time frames that we were starting to stall, but some of the hedges that I put on the portfolio overnight, just to make sure our asses were covered, we put on a little one on the MEX platform, just locked in some sales up here just in case these guys decided to dump. And we put on, I don't know whether I'm going to do this right or not, put on a couple shorts on OK Coin. Again, just right up against the top end of the range, just in case these guys wanted to crap their pants here. And, you know, for the site, we announced this morning, of course, that they all broke out to new highs. And so as a result, we took those shorts off. It's actually interesting here because we are, you know, 6 market matrix. We are up against trendline resistance now. And I do notice that we are in divergence here. So there may actually be a trade that develops through here. But the fact that we broke out through the highs, this high here, for me, that's just a big sigh of relief. Phew, you know, we're not going to crap out here. If anything, we might have to pull back, and I've done a little bow tie. I was posting this in the lounge. I could very easily see us play in this little range here over the next, you know, especially the end of the weekend, starting of a new trading week. I would imagine, too, that the London boys, the New York boys, if Bitcoin is still breaking higher and moving higher, they're going to want their opportunity to get in on the long side from the breakout level. So if anything, if anybody is going to be hunting long setups in here, be thinking about London kill zone, New York kill zone, kind of ideal liquidity pools. And the traders are going to probably use those. You know, in fact, they probably got a whole bunch of people long in here. Maybe they're going to use these lows that were established overnight here as a nice little liquidity pool right against this tail. But anyway, you shake it, I was really worried that, you know, we were carving out a pretty well-defined little top up here yesterday, and I actually got to the point last night where I was like, you know, we better just cover our asses. There wasn't a hell of a lot of risk on those hedges, but nonetheless, on the breakout here, I was just like, okay, phew, we dodged a bullet, thank heavens. So, you know, we'll be watching how this, you know, potential divergence here develops. It's not confirmed yet. RSI still isn't even overbought. Could I see some back and forth here? Absolutely, no problem whatsoever. And then let's, you know, getting back to our higher time frame, what I really wanted to start this video off with, and I apologize, is, you know, is until we actually do start even printing red candles here, I don't even think we can even start even thinking about a top. We're still just green candle, green candle, green candle, green candle. And, you know, unless they just bitch slap it here into the end of this session, we got about another 3 or 4 hours left on this session. I don't see the bitch slap coming, but maybe it does. This is going to finish as a very strong candle. I suppose too, and now this gets really interesting. I don't really have the levels on my charts, but you know, if we start thinking Amanda's apartment, remember with Dash basically did that, these fucking levels are starting to come in here now. It's sick. I remember when we were sitting down here going, no, there's no way they're gonna do this, and the motherfuckers, right? We're going right up into here. And I wanted to make reference, and James, I think you're in here, maybe you can post it. What's the next square 9 level? I think I saw you say it's around 3,500 or so, eh? 3560, 3520, somewhere in that neighborhood. So that puts us up, you know, where's 30, 34, 35? So somewhere up in that area. You know, I think definitely 300% sure definitely seems achievable here. And actually, I did a couple other charts here this morning that I thought were really cool. Remember we had talked last week and previous weeks, we had 200% range extension of this range was, we had like Satoshi's penthouse, and then we did another one, and I actually took it off of this study, where we had Benjamin, right? You remember your line? Well, what was it? What was it? The Bacchanelli or whatever the hell that word was. So this morning, I just did the same logic, and I noticed that we have quite an interesting consolidation range here with a really nice doji right in the middle of that range, like total indecision here. Nice breakout, and then of course, you know, off the lower time frames, we were worried about fails up against these highs. You can see that we're moving higher. We're getting a nice little consolidation and bullish resolution. Like I said, we went through that high there. you know, I can understand 127, you know, 1618, you know, all these extension levels all start coming in now. And what I also noticed too, like I said, this really nice consolidation. And the note that I put out was just basically a consolidation. I think that this actually marks a midpoint. And if we do the bull ABCD off of that as a consolidation, then we get this crazy ass target up here at 3,700. And then I noticed this smaller range, boobity boo, off of that panic low, right up to this high, consolidation, AB equals CD, that also takes us up to that 3,700. And lo and behold, there is good old 200% extension, good old 1.618. We have a new mathematician. I think his name's Richard, who's a part of the site, and he's just having a great old time in the lounge. And he's all, you know, super jazzed about, I think he calls it the golden mean. But anyway, you know, we've talked about golden ratio lots. So really, I don't see any reason why we can't go up and hit this. And the interesting thing too is, and you know, I've told everybody, and I strongly suggest that, you know, you can't chase price as it's running up here. But if you're a bull and you want to get in on this, just follow good old 13 EMA. And you know, any kind of pullbacks, what I notice now is if the market does have to pull back here, it can maintain this market structure low and also tag the 13 EMA and be just like, man, I'm just pulling back, no big deal. So, you know, if you are a bull and you want to get in on this, my hunch is, you know, really it's going to be tricky, don't get me wrong, but drill down to the lower time frames and really hunt for any sort of pullbacks. You know, like I said, the New York boys and the London boys, if Bitcoin's a bull and it's roaring here, there's no fucking way they're not going to be given a window to get into the market at the right levels, right? I mean, we all know how the game works. So how they manufacture that pullback into the level, maybe it is this breakout high, I don't know, we'll see over time. But try not to get sucked up into the chasing of markets. It's awfully tough. So, and the interesting thing too I wanted to mention about this was that I'm seeing a lot, and really, you know, our audience is pretty heavily on the altcoin side. And you know, of late, of course, we're banging out gazillions of doubles, doubles everywhere, right? I notice a lot of new people who come to the site that are, you know, they're not at the point they're thinking the way that our veterans think about the market. And I can see a lot of behavioral patterns. They're getting really stressed out about positions that maybe, you know, our veterans look at and go, gee whiz, you're still long that? You know, I can see the fear in their words. Obviously, I don't, you know, see them eye to eye, but I can feel that. It's almost like it's very natural. It's very normal. There's a couple coins that I wanted to mention today that I think, if anything, are acting extremely normal, like almost cliche in the way that they've sucked people into the top. And now they're punishing them. And the irony of it all is that we may find that if Bitcoin does go into a face red mode like this, we may see a lot of the altcoins come back down to earth that have been going absolutely nuts recently. And the irony of it all is that they might justify that these prices of these alts come back down just simply to maintain some sort of parity with the current price of Bitcoins. You never know what the excuse is that will generate these corrections, but it you know, whatever the ultimate reason is, you know, it is what it is. I think if anything, this is a good example where, you know, I had a long-standing order. Might as well write it up here. Can't remember the exact level, but it's somewhere around here. And this, ironically enough, is a great thing because I pulled this, I was going to do the write-up for the blog. And the only chart that I had was one from back, just, it's almost ironic, you know, it's back from March, from fucking March. We were talking about levels down here. So I thought it was just interesting. All I do is I just work my damn orders. And I got the impression looking at this chart, because I do know I got a fill up here, that I actually missed the sell order. I must not have had the order working back in the in April. So if anything, I was a bit lucky that we had another counter trend rally back up here to give me a fill today. But if anything, this is an excellent testament, the fact that I'm selling these up markets. I'm not buying, for heaven's sakes, please. You know, and if you did buy off of the lows, and there's even some great little structure to have reloaded on this name, you know, please pay yourself for the hard work that you guys do. You don't have to sell it all, but at least take some profits. I saw one name, and the only reason why I pulled this over here was I saw one name that to me is almost, you know, the epitome of and actually there's a few of them, but let's start with Digi. Somebody had posted this in the lounge this morning, and if anything, this is exactly what's supposed to happen in this game. Is, you know, we often say the longer the channel, the bigger the run, and the key to making money at this game over the long term is simply, you know, if you do have the balls, right, to just simply try and be an accumulator through these channels. If you can, and this is sort of our plan at the site, is, you know, try and buy off the bottom of the ranges, sell halves on doubles, right? Then when it comes back down to the bottom, buy your second car, sell multiple halves on doubles, comes back down, load your third car, right? So you just keep building and building and building and building, and then one day, if you're in one of these crazy channels, this shit happens, right? And this is payday. I mean, for God's sakes, pay yourself. But what I actually am seeing in the lounge right now, and it's really bothersome, but it's such a classic testament to this space and the transition that I need for people to make from moving from I'm an amateur to a professional, is I am seeing a lot of people talking about, well, what's going on here? Why is this thing coming down here? Well, for God's sakes, if you bought up here, hopefully you realize that what you're buying, you're actually, how do we say this? You're buying the guys that are taking profits that were accumulating all through here. The crazy like Brian, guys like Brian that have these open orders to sell halves on doubles, the people that are coming into the market here are the people that are facilitating my profits. And, you know, even on a name like this, and, you know, if you are long this, then you're going to have to learn a hard lesson. I couldn't even consider looking for a bottom on these kind of coins until we get down at their very least. At least this one did. And it's interesting, I was just sitting right on Mountain Man level right now, right? Tagged the old high. That's encouraging. So you can see traders are starting to get interested here. But really, you know, a guy like me, I look at this juicy tail down here and I say, you know, at the very least, I want to see how we act in here and to see whether we actually have to come down into these levels down here. At the very least, right? And usually what I like to see, if this is indeed a bull, is we're going to come down and we're going to put in a nice W. It's going to take some time for this to even get back to the stage of, hey, I'm actually interested in buying this. I thought on a side, names that did go up like crazy over the spring. Do you guys see the similarity of what's going on here and what I just did on Digi? And anybody, we've got a bunch of people in the hangout here. Do you see the similarities? Does anybody? Hey, there's Daniel. Hey, Daniel. Nice to see you, Slug. So for this thing, this unfortunate, and the interesting thing is we might do 400% or whatever off of some of these ranges to get those same sort of levels as Dash. But in essence, it's like Digi is like maybe right here. And if you're lucky, notice all the back and forth, right? All the fuckery. And what we actually, if we're actually thinking about trading and getting back in on Digi, look how much time had to pass here for this bottom to develop. So there are coins, if you're in this phase, and especially, I hope everybody can see the big fat M here, up, down, up, looking for this thing to be making new highs, that's not even realistic. And if anything, what you have to be thinking now is, all right, where are they going to put a bottom in this thing? And you got to be damn patient. If you didn't sell on the way up, tisk tisk, if anything, journal, log. We have an old expression in this game, right? Bulls make money, bears make money. You know what happens to those pigs. If you are sitting on staggering percentage gains here, and you didn't take profits, then you got to learn from that mistake. It's going to take time. I don't know how many times you have to see it, but at some point, enough is enough. I do notice that there are some kids on the internet and stuff that are like, fuck it, man, it's 10x on everything. But keep in mind that this is a very particular market state. Markets don't always act like this. And, quite often if you say, well, I'm only going to do 10x, you might be sitting on assets for a very long period of time waiting for this event to happen. I think it's a good idea to build into your plans ways that you can stay in names as long as possible. The irony of this game is that the difference between amateurs and professionals is the amateurs are constantly thinking about when to get out. When do I risk, get out, take a loss? When do I take profits? When do I get out? When can I get out? When can I get out? The irony of it all is the real pros, they're actually trying to figure out how they can go and buy more. How do I get more into this? How do I get more? How do I get longer? Or whatever, if they see a really good story that they like. So, I think it's very healthy to pay yourself on the way up. There are a number of tools that you can build into your plans, but for heaven's sakes, if anything, try and remove the discretionary part of the decision-making process. Build into your plans like set rules. I will sell 1/3 of my position every time the asset triples. Perfectly fine. I think on balance, as somebody in the lounge just points here, I think on balance, it's a good idea to get into a quote-unquote free position, get all risk of your original capital out of the investment as fast as possible. Maybe that means you sell 3/4 of your position at 50% gain or whatever, right? Whatever it takes to get your original capital back in your hands as fast as possible. Then once you're in that position, fucking A, man, sky's the limit. But the point here is always try and play from a position of strength. People that, I don't know whether people bought up top or not. I certainly hope not. But anybody that sort of bought here and is lamenting about lost profits because they didn't sell up here, well, that's just sour grapes. You're just going to have to build into your plan that, hey, every time the asset doubles, out goes a little bit more. Every time the asset triples, out goes a little bit more. So you actually remove that decision-making process out of that. Because if you leave it up to your discretion, the greedy, the pig, takes over. Oh, it's going to the moon, right? Okay, so I just wanted to point out this was a good example. There was another one, which is almost, I don't want to belittle the people's situation, so I'll be as polite as possible. But there was a coin that we bought at like 2 sats through the winter time, and it was just a total flyer for us. And of course, it went absolutely insane. We got paid very, very well for the position. But I hear people talking about, well, why is this not performing? Well, the bottom line here is this thing went up way too far, way too fast. Is this kind of growth 100x off of the bottom? And is that sustainable? Is that realistic growth? No, absolutely not. Not even debatable. It's just not sustainable growth. It's simple as that. And if anything, and I really don't, like I can actually see there's a little gap right on the chart right there. And if I start to do good old reload zones, I can't even start to think about being a buyer of this thing. Oh, gee whiz. We got a gap sitting right there, and there's good old 78.6. Hopefully, for anybody that is playing up top, interesting, it looks like there's a little gap right there, and we just tagged Mountain Man today. Hopefully, we're coming into that bottoming zone, that this story is still legit. And just like the Digi, my hunch is it's going to have to, if this is a bull and it's still for real, it's going to have to do like a dash here and slowly make this transition back into bull. Does that make sense, guys? I really wanted to sort of, and the irony of it all is that what's going to cause these to clean up, what's going to cause them to go through this process of removing the fluff is something like a nice big fat Bitcoin rally. And I kind of think that they might use the Bitcoin rally as a way to bring a lot of these altcoins back down to earth. Totally wouldn't surprise me one bit. And then we put in a nice panic bottom, everybody hates altcoins again, and then guess what? All right, so I wanted to do just a quick review. I guess hope you guys enjoyed that. Nice little Sunday offering. It's probably about a half hour, 45 minutes. I hope you enjoyed it. Any questions, pop on the site and feel free to ask me. I guess why don't we leave off with just a few setups that I'm trading in the altcoin space right now. I've got a few on the books. Probably actually the heaviest load I've had in a while. So where should we go? Let's go, I guess. I wonder how we do this. All right, well, let's go boosh, and then we'll go boosh, and then we'll go boosh, and then we'll go boosh. There we go. So, little bullish bot on Bella that's been working for quite a while. And again, you know, you guys, the dash conversation, does it make sense that this kind of growth rate is just unsustainable? We're going to need to take some time, clean things up. We put in one low, two lows, three lows. I took a shot on this low. They came down and they cleaned out this low, and they even went after this low, but it held. So I didn't get flushed, came damn close. Put in a little inside bar reversal, working its way back up, and now actually we got another little inside bar reversal happening today. This has been a kind of a soap opera trade for me, but it's an excellent example of, you know, just set it and forget it, live with the levels. I'm long from here. I'm going to risk a nice move below. In fact, this is a nice round number. And anybody watching on YouTube, the irony of it all is I'm just setting myself up for disaster. Because I wouldn't be surprised if some shark comes along and goes, oh, fuck, we can get Beamish to balk if we blow through this level. Let's go fucking crank it down there just to fuck them. It'll be interesting in the daily brief tomorrow to see if anybody does this to us. Anyway, there's Bella, and Bella's got some interesting fundamentals in the works. Something might happen there. I thought this was interesting too. This is an interesting Mountain Man to Mountain Man tag. So this Mountain Man trade set up off of this beautiful little inside bar reversal there. So we're also watching that little mini setup as well. Decred, cool little bullish bot. Hopefully you see the same thing. This growth rate simply isn't sustainable. It needs to come down and clean itself up. In essence, one low, two lows, three lows, four lows, five lows, right? Got some great reversal action off of here. I actually was working a stint bid on this one and got a really cheeky fill down here at 9,000 on this one. So I'm going to play this and see if we can get the bot set up to take us up to this 100%. And that'll be a nice 10-to-1 risk reward, right? That'll be a sweet trade. So we'll see how that one goes. We also got, it was interesting in the lounge over the weekend, we were watching the ETC, ETH battles. And both of them were threatening to put in little bullish setups. And ETH put one in here off of this nice little double bottom breakout here. And it's interesting, when I get these double bottoms, we often get that inertial push that pushes it up through the 25 level. That's basically what happened here. And this son of a bitch, you can see, has already hit his move stop to trailing level on the bot. So anybody who did the ETH trade over the weekend is already laughing. And if anything, just use your 3 high lows method to lock in profits along the way. So way to go, ETHers. Jerks. Hate you guys. Y took a little bullish bot set up on ETC. So we had this little one, and same sort of thing. Hopefully you guys see the same logic just over and over and over, right? Basically, we had a market that moved up way too far, way too fast, needed to consolidate, did so, and I really liked the double bottom that came in through here. This was really pretty. We had the alerts, and I think it was Adam, right? It might have been Adam, it might have been someone else, but anyway, we were chatting about this, and I was like, fuck it, man. If that double bottom comes in, I'm totally taking it. So the alerts went off, everything went crazy, and boom, I bought. And the funny thing is, and this is such a classic tale of a trader's life, is literally on that breakout, the next fucking candle, boom, they brought it right back down. And we could have done a total fucking RLZ off of this. And that would have been a shark trade. I don't know whether you guys can see that. We had a couple of new site members that were really interested in the shark setup. But hopefully you guys can see that. See how we do this. And we got the breakout here, right? There's the double bottom level. So there's the breakout. And you could have actually just drawn a fib back to reload zone. And look at that, motherfuckers. Jesus. So they didn't quite hit the 78.6. So it wouldn't have been a shark. But look at this candle that they brought it right back down into Mountain Man. Nice little doji, and then back up we go. It's so typical of this setup, guys. It's so typical. So in essence, the bullish market structure is maintained. Little bit of slippage here, but it looks like that's relatively okay. Long and short of it here, this setup is just working away. And actually, I like to always give a shout out to the group. What now that the setup is fired, the trade is entered, the stop and target levels are identified, everything's all been placed to work. What should I be doing right now? Anybody answer me? Wait, nothing. Right, that was what I was looking for, the key word. Absolutely nothing. Just kind of fucking let your money work for you. So let's see what happens. Didn't perform as well as the ETC, the ETH guys. Jerks. Hate those guys. I look here. Why is Ethereum outpacing Bitcoin? They're even rubbing it in my face. But anyway, I took this little ETC bot. Let's see what happens. Another coin, actually, I'm really interested in this XZC. Beautiful daily chart. Oh my goodness. Just gorgeous daily chart. Look at that double bottom. Looks like it jumped up a little too far too fast here. And I've got a bunch of bids working. See if I can pull a shark off here. Got a bid working at that 78.6. See if I can get filled there. But wow, I remember in the lounge, we were talking yesterday. We were like, hey, you guys want to see a buy? In fact, it was like 2 days ago. And this thing just went around, just wouldn't stop. Oh, jerks. Oh. Anyway, good looking little coin right there. That was a beautiful little buy signal there. So I'm working some bids to try and sneak in. Beautiful market structure down here. That was the original blast off reload zone there. I suppose going off of this one, you can see there's 78.6. So I've got a bid here, and what a coincidence. This happens so often. The original breakout level and the 78.6 are really close. So if I'm lucky, I'll be able to get a sneak of this bid fill here. But I've got some more bids working just in case they want to take it right into these levels. So anyway, that's something that I'm interested in. Looks like there's a bit of a gap right here, so it makes sense why they're bringing price down. This thing might just bot itself out here. You never know. So. Okay, I've been blabbing away for a while. Hope you guys enjoyed that presentation. We could maybe take some time if you're in the lounge here. If you want to post a coin or two, we can take a look at them. What do we got? We got 15 people in the lounge here, so I hope you enjoyed that. Anyone want me to look at anything in particular? Anyone? Is anybody even in there? Hello? Come in, Tokyo. Rad. CRW. All right. Let's see what we got here. Let's go like that, and go. Rads. He who should not be named. Rad's been looking pretty bullish recently. All right, so it's pretty obvious where you should be a buyer. I love when these things are nice and easy. Does it make it obvious where everybody should be a buyer? The funny thing is check this out. I mean, after a while, it just gets stunningly cliche. You just go, it can't be that obvious, can it? You see how if you just drew a simple little range, low to high, and just drew your box. Look how the W comes in right off the 78.6. I've talked to you guys about 78.6 before, right? How incredibly powerful that is. So that's where you should be long. And the interesting thing is notice, look, they left a gap there. So the irony of it all is when this is done, when the seasonal rally is done, guess where it's going? You can see. In fact, we did this for the level 2ers, right, in our Saturday class, didn't we? You guys remember that? We just said that sometimes they'll leave a gap and they're just like literally saying, well, we're going to be back here at some point in the future. They've almost like left a signpost saying, well, like a cookie crumb trail, right? Or like Hansel and Gretel kind of thing, breadcrumb trail. So quite literally, this is exactly where you should be long this name. It's just right like that. It's just simple as that. So here we are way up here. I don't know. Are we close? Is this a buying area? What do you think? Anybody? Who asked me to look at this? Rads. Somebody asked me to look at this. Hisham. Yeah. Unfortunately, it sucks, man, but you can't be a buyer here. And where can we be a buyer? Look at that. Isn't that incredible how I just simply did low to high? And look at the fucking 78.6 is right there. You see that, Hisham? You bought up top here? Oh boy. Well, I hope you do okay, my friend. Is that 100,000? That's where you bought? Okay, well, if you bought that, that's okay. Like clockwork, yeah. I mean, and that's the weird thing about this, Daniel, is that that's what this literally is. This is I was interested. We had a really cool conversation tutorial with a new site member the other day who's got a bit of a mathematics bent. And he was saying that he could actually mathematically see the fib spiral in the way space-time, like the fabric of it, the way it's built. So yeah, it is in a weird sort of way. It is the clockwork. It's freaky. But anyway, live it, learn it, love it. We're here to make money. That's all I care, right? If it works, we want to do more of it. If it doesn't work, we want to do less of it. Anyway. Okay, so there's your rads. Can't be a seller here, or excuse me, can't be a buyer here. If you want to be spoon feeding the market coins as we work our way up, great, go for it. If you want to think about buying it, I like the idea of these tails, right, all in here, and of course the big juicy gap, and of course the original market structure is the bottom, quote unquote, is down here. Hopefully that helps you. Well, you're welcome, sir. Okay, CRW. Casey asked us to look at CRW. Douche. That's not bad. Sort of middle of the road, a little bit of a gap there, Casey. Be careful of that right there. Trading range, back and forth, top of the range, bottom of the range. You're not walking into a trap. That's always good. Kind of coin toss, though. What was the reason that this thing launched itself up into here, right? There's some sort of story some participant, maybe they, that you can sort of see that's where they, yeah. You see this candle here? So that's that candle there, which basically is that acceptance into that range, rejection away from it, those two candles, right? And that's all that volume in there. So in essence, what I think happened here is that the story changed hands. There were old players here, new players came in. That's why you see the floor there. And this is your trading range. So whatever the story is that changed here, as long as that story stays valid, I think that's your floor. And, reload zones off of this range, wicks and tails being eaten. I like this nice 2-bar reversal pattern here. Kind of looks railroad tracksy, a bit sort of inside bar reversal. The breakout there, notice the gap there, so bids against that level, right against that railroad tracks level in there. That didn't surprise me that found support. And, on balance, right, you could probably justify being long anywhere at or below this box. So, and 78.6 shouldn't surprise us that that's a level of interest in there. And not a bad name to take a shot on. The question really is what happened here to change it from this coin into this coin? And if that story ever fails, guess where it's going? Does that make sense? Yeah. And you'll know, I suppose, that this thing's ready, for prime time when it breaks these triangles. All right, so you got this one in here, and then the bigger one. So my hunch is you're probably going to see a pretty hefty amount of traffic in this area if it does pop. You should be able to get yourself a free position there, because that's 20, well, yeah, it might be tough. So can you see how it says 25, whatever, 25,000, 250,000, whatever that is? And double that is right against these resistance lines, 500,000. So you can see that they're sort of setting the trade up here, where if we do bottom here and we rally up into resistance, that'll give them the opportunity to get a double. So I would suggest you'll be working your bids down here, working your offers to sell halves on doubles in here, because I think you're probably going to play ping pong between those levels. Make sense? Cool. All right, what else we got here? Crew, XLM, GNT. Oh, and we even got a chart to look at. What are you going to show us? Whoa. Right. It's interesting how you drew this channel. I don't know what the points are that you're using. It looks like price is outside of that a bit. All right, interesting. I guess nice buy zone. You can see why the market turned here off this 61.8 a few times. Looks like you're banging some trades off here, so nicely done, Slick. Looks a little bit heavy, I would say, and I'm not quite sure where you've drawn this trend line off of. I think the top of the candle's up there. So I don't know whether I'd agree with these trend lines. This is an interesting line. Be interesting to see where that's coming from. So it looks like you got a reload zone here and a couple gaps here. So yeah, I think it makes sense to look for a stab down into this area. All right, very interesting, colorful chart. Thank you, Garrett. Not quite sure what it is you wanted me to comment on there. Next up, we've got, is that it? You guys are going to let me off? Oh, no, here's some more. Ruby. What's Ruby look like? RBY. I was interested in Ruby recently, wasn't I? Oh, isn't that interesting? Ruby. So, yeah, we bought some Ruby in here, got half off on a double, and then they came and crapped out those lows. Typical assholes. So if anything, guys, this is absolutely perfect testament to traders. This is a trader's trade. Absolutely textbook. So, because just like we saw in that last one, this is exact. I think this trade was perfectly manufactured. So does it make sense? And who asked about this? William, you asked about this, and you say not good. So that means, sounds to me like maybe you chased it a little bit higher, and you weren't able to get that sell half on a double off. I got double other day. Okay, good. So then that means you got no risk on this trade, right? Right? No. Uh-oh, don't like the sound of that. All right, the point here is, yeah, we did take this trade, and yeah, we did hit the sell half on a double level, and it does not surprise me, especially these Ruby guys, that they literally took a candle down and flushed the lows. This looks totally manufactured to me. You have 2 free positions on it. Well, there you go. Merry Christmas. And if anything, if we look at like a clothesline chart, we might even see that this actually never did go through these lows. I do understand, though, that the move through these lows is a lower low here. And on balance for Ruby, that's not great. I think the trade's gone. Trade's already come and gone. And you can make an argument that this is an inside bar failure right here. And if you were just, and I haven't been paying attention to it because I got a gazillion positions. And once I get a free position on it, I just literally take the coins and just throw them on the pile and forget about them. But if I was like, day trading kind of thing, I got my sweet fill, and I was like, well, I want to hold on to as much of my profits as possible. If I saw this inside bar here, I think I probably would have hopped. But for me right now, I couldn't give a rat's ass. And if I'm not mistaken on Ruby, the bottom, if it loses these lows in earnest, I don't think it will. This to me looks totally manufactured. You see how these lows here, they love to stab it against those lows. You see that? Not a coincidence, I don't think, whatsoever. But if it does lose these lows, and this is exactly like we talked about in the other coin, if it loses this range, odds are it's probably heading back down here. No sugarcoating it. But I think, trading wise, I think that this, if anything, stabs against this area might even be attractive little cheap buys to be able to bang off sexy little doubles. So if anything, especially the fact that it left this tail here, let's see if it can calm down over time and put in a nice little double bottom just like it did through the last tail. And if I see that and I see any kind of, hammer type action down in here, I might just do it again. But for the time being, I'm just going to be cool with my jets here because it did leave this tail, new low. I think if anything, if anything, William, you keep an eye on this. If we get any sort of kind of candles like this, like reversal patterns here, down in here, let the group know, right? And I'll totally fucking trade it with you, man. So thanks for the heads up. We'll keep an eye out for this, okay? Thanks. Awesome. And that's like, that's the whole point of this website. I love that. Sort of this 1 + 1 = 3, where we all sort of work together to try and keep an eye out. Because, if the candle pattern does come in here, we get a nice little 2-bar reversal here. A buy is a buy is a buy. And if we can all make money together, well, fucking A, man. Okay, David N asked us to look at NXT. NXT. Ooh, oh, I know. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Somebody, I think Marius, if you could just maybe throw yourself on mute. TE green arrow on my last buy is higher than my bid. My buy was filled at 14,000. Okay, thank you. All right, NXT, hopefully everybody sees here. I was looking at this the other day. Pretty obvious where the structural floor is. This was a cheeky one because they brought it right down against these lows. And I remember last year they did this too. But in this particular case, look at that, eh? Isn't that incredible? And talk about a W. Doesn't get much more fine-tuned than that. What a mess. So, and the interesting thing is that while we're going through this, you're like never thinking of moon here. You think this is just like 100 miles wide. If anything, this is a great, excellent piece for everybody to add to their toolkit. And actually, I think we have it on the site. Let's see if I can find it. It's somewhere around here. I think it's this page. Oosh. Where do we want to go? We want to go to tutorials. And we want to go to, I think it's images. Yeah, here we go. Wyckoff. Hopefully everybody's seen this before. Is anybody in the labs that hasn't seen this before? If you haven't, then hey, get your journals out like we do in our daily briefs. What did I learn today? All right, so this is the classic sort of capitalist model. Yeah, I think so. I mean, this model goes back over 100 years, eh? So I have seen a number of different people on Twitter and TradingView and various different sources make reference to it. And, you know, if anything, this is an excellent testament that most of the shit that we're talking about, the funny little names Brian comes up with stuff, there are probably countless other people in other communities that have used the exact same concepts. I mean, there's no doubt about it, not reinventing the wheel here on probably about 90% of the crap that I talk to you guys about. I like to use my funny little names and expressions because it likes to, for me, it sort of, I took a memory course back in university and they said that the easiest way for the human brain to remember something is if it's really outlandish, if it has a lot of action, if it has a lot of motion. They said that the easiest way for the and I hear Charlie's got me on in the background. Hi, Charlie. Anyway, so I use crazy outlandish concept like mountain man, right? Like line in the sand. You can like visualize that in your head. You know, think of a delivery truck backing up, right? In the reload zones, right? So I like to use funny little names and expressions for things, but make no mistake about it. Most of this stuff people have been doing for a long, long time. And it sort of morphs and changes names. The interesting thing is we like to call trade double bottoms. And everybody, you know, in our education program, everybody gets a healthy dose of double bottoms when we go through our basics of market structure. And what's really interesting is that there was, for a very long period of time, they were called Dow bottoms and Dow tops. And the reason was because this guy, Charles Henry Dow, was the only person in North America that I'd seen this, had identified this behavior, and actually did crazy things like price charts. You know, and as time has gone by, people stopped referring to them as Dow tops and Dow bottoms. But it's, if anything, it's a great testament that, you know, as time goes by, people give crazy names to all this stuff. But this concept, and we sort of attribute it to this gentleman Wyckoff, who lived about 100 years ago, is really, it's capitalism 101. That's what it is. In that, if you just think about this from a simple wholesaler to retailer perspective, that's the way the capitalist process works. In the markets, we actually have seasonal periods where wholesalers will actually load up on inventories, and they will actually distribute those products to the retail customer at marked up prices. It's just the way capitalism works. And in the stock market, and it turns out that it seems to be very applicable to the cryptocurrency markets, there are seasonally times a year where people are divesting out of these, you know, very speculative altcoin names. A lot of it has to do with tax-related reasons. And wholesalers can basically load up at the bottom of the range And then as we go through a very normal seasonal markup period, they start distributing it to the public. And, you know, I work with technicians in very cold places like Quebec, Canada, where, you know, there's igloos in the middle of the summer. Just kidding. But one expression that he has is one technician out of Quebec, Don Valou, he would always say, you buy when it snows and you sell when it goes. Now, with global warming and stuff, obviously the winter has been pushed a little further later, and you guys down in the States and stuff, that happens a little bit later. But in essence, it was the simple analogy, and it's just sort of like once October rolls around, that's when the snow starts flying in Canada, and that's generally speaking a good time to be buying into assets, right through to the end of the year, right? And the interesting thing in the crypto space is, wow, you can really see it, and a lot of it has to do with tax reasons. And then as we go through the very normal heading into a new year, new ventures get funded, new venture capital pools, you know, new tax year, so they can be put to work. We go through the very natural process of prices getting marked up. And of course, the hype machine starts, you know, the ICO market starts to heat up. People, you know, into the spring get income tax refunds, so they're feeling wealthy. They have money to spend, and it doesn't really matter whether it's stocks or whether it's crypto. That's really more of a function of the fear-greed cycle, which is another conversation altogether. But right now, consumers are demanding fear assets, which is right down crypto's lane. So it shouldn't surprise us to see that the markup process. The key here, of course, is let's try and not be buyers where retail are buyers. That's the simple message out of all of this. And if anything, let's even try and take profits and be distributors of these assets while the retail public is purchasers of these assets. So going back to that coin that we just looked at a moment ago, I thought it was an interesting tell, because this is, if anything, an absolutely perfect example of that sort of Wycovian principle. In this particular case, you can see last year's sort of seasonal distribution, and then look how they just fucking destroyed it into the end of the year. And then we go through that very normal sort of bottoming accumulation phase. And here we go through the same damn process. And I think, Hisham, you were making reference to a gentleman by the name of DJ Thistle, who's been talking a lot about this Wycovian process. He can see it in crypto. I think, you know, the big tell here, what you really want to look for is, of course, our good old W's. And then more importantly, do you notice, guys, here how it breaks out and it comes back and it checks that original breakout and it establishes structure off of that original breakout level? That is actually the hallmark of a very strong asset. So if you want to take a screenshot, what does a strong asset in that markup process look like? I thought this was a beautiful example of that. Now, what phase of the market do you think we're in right now? Do you think we're in the accumulation phase, or do you think we're in the distribution phase? Let's make this really simple. Right? So if you can look at the market from this perspective, then this game actually gets pretty easy, doesn't it? And really, on balance, we have to try and avoid buying into names like this right here. That doesn't mean it can't go higher. Don't get me wrong. I mean, maybe this thing pulls a fucking Amanda's apartment. Who knows? But when I see an asset that's moved up as aggressively as this, I can't be a buyer. I'm not allowed to. And if anything, if I was buying off a year, banging out doubles, sell half on a double, sell a third on a triple, whatever. And interestingly enough, when you actually look at this chart, can you guys see that, wow, somebody stopped a bull market there before. Somebody stopped the bull market there before. Somebody stopped the bull market there before. Oh boy, we're coming into a pretty significant traffic area. Does that make sense? So not only are we really late coming to the party, the irony of it all is that there are people that are sleeping on the couch, right? Still, because they bought here. And they're just praying to God they bring the price back to this level so that they can sell the kids' college fund, right? Or they invested the kids' college fund here and it went, uh-oh, sleeping on the couch. They're just praying to God that the market will get back here so that they can get off that fucking couch. I know we have one site member who loves that line. In the doghouse, that's another one, right? So all of these people that were like, oh, this is easy money. Yeah, we're going to make lots of money buying up markets, chasing the market, right? They're just fucking praying to God, please, God. In fact, you could argue probably the reason why this rally ran out of steam here was because of all these guys trying to get off the fucking couch here. Does that make sense? Right? There was so many sellers here that the market just ran out of fucking demand and just collapsed. So, you know, this is what I was talking about earlier. If you can put funny images, if you can put funny names, if you can put funny characters to this stuff, it makes it a hell of a lot easier to remember. So anytime we come up, you know, the textbook boring guys will say, this is an example of horizontal support and resistance, right? The easier way for you to remember this is some poor guy sleeping on a couch or sleeping in the doghouse. All right, if anything on that note, why don't we leave it at that? I think we've been going for an hour or two here, so this has been kind of fun. Hope you guys have enjoyed the presentation. It was great interacting a bit more with the group and the community. I love interacting with you guys. I hope you've all enjoyed this on this conversation on YouTube and stuff, because I think we put it up for free today. But this is the kind of stuff that we do on the daily briefs, day in, day out, and lots of interaction with our site members. You know, very similar to the Coinigy shows that you probably watch on YouTube. We do this Monday to Friday. And these crazy daily briefs are usually about a half hour, 45 minutes. So they last a long time. Okay, guys, hope you have yourselves a great rest of your day. I'm going to head off and hang out and have a great afternoon with my son. So I'll talk to you all real soon. Make sure to follow those trading plans. Don't take too much risk. Always live to fight another day. And bye for now.